2024. So yeah, I mean, it's been like a week since the new year turned over, and honestly, over the break, wanted to play a bunch of games and kind of catch up on the newer titles that came out this year. But there was one game that just caught me and I just got hooked. And if you watched my Twitch, you could see the stream that I played PoE in Path of Exile, which is the game that really got the hooks on me. It's kind of the same that the amount of hours I put in over the holidays, but even before that, it really hooked me. So in this video, I just wanted to talk about my experience coming back to Path of Exile and honestly learning as a new player. I put in at least 300 hours, probably more, and honestly I'm still a baby at this game. There's so much to learn. There's so much mechanics that are introduced like every patch or every league, they call it, and sometimes they bring back some mechanics, sometimes they take it away, so there's always changing and shifting mechanics in the game. But yeah, let's get into the video and let's talk about my new player experience with Path of Exile. So just to give you a little history of my time playing with Path of Exile, first time I played it, really like got into it, was maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, with 3.17. I think that was Siege of the Atlas. That's when they updated the Atlas tree, and then we'll get into all those insane skill trees and all that. But part of the reason I played Path of Exile and tried it out was because of the announcement of Path of Exile 2. And that really looked like a more modernized ARPG. The graphics are, I mean, they're great, like amazing compared to the first game. And I just want to see how they improve on movement and quality of life stuff, because this game's quality of life is behind a paywall, which is fine. I think it's free to play game, so that's fine. But I do recommend you cash up some money to grinding gears, just to have that quality of life improvement, like stash tabs, and I think it's just mostly stash tabs, which is always great to have, like more stuff to have in your inventory to come back to if you want to try a different build or try a different, character or something like that. It's always good to have. And over those past 2 years, we've been seeing a lot more of Path of Exile 2, and the beta is coming around the corner here, I think in the summer of this year. So yeah, there's a lot to be excited about Path of Exile and the future of Exile 2 and 1, because they're gonna be two games that live side by side. Grinding Gears isn't gonna stop support for Path of Exile 1, but they're gonna support both of the games in unison, and they'll have different leagues, so there'll be different games. It's gonna be a different game for sure. But let's just get into what I've been playing within Path of Exile 1. So there's just so much to understand about building, and even the mechanics that are introduced, the skill gems and the support gems, and how they work together, and scaling of all the stats, the offensive stats, the defensive stats, and the different things they do. Is just too much. And the skill trees that help along the way. Help is a really generous word, because there's almost no tutorial in the game. There is, I didn't use it because I just watched like YouTube videos, because I think they explain it better and more concise, and they have answers that I have questions for. So it's always good to have that back and forth feedback when you're learning something new. But yeah, the game is kind of insane in what build you can make. I think it's recommended to follow a guide because of how dense the buildings systems and the progression is. So I do recommend following a guide. Just look for a league start. Those are more beginner friendly guides. They'll probably explain a lot of the leveling progression, and then get into the maps, the end game, and all that is a good source of knowledge for, you know, a new player going in. So the build that I went with at first is a righteous fire build. So that's like a fire ability where you get surrounded by fire. So any enemies like comes close to you will just burn pretty much. And I'm following Pox. I'm not sure how to say his name. It's spelled PoHX. So he's like the main righteous fire guy in the PoE community. So like I recommend checking him out if you want to see that kind of build. And there's a new, I don't know how deep it is, but there are new gems that came out with this league, and one of those permutation of gems is righteous fire. And that was the build that I started off with, and I kept learning throughout the 2 or 3 leagues that I've played in the past 2 years. So yeah, I have a pretty good knowledge, not the greatest, but I have a good knowledge of what to build and what stats I'm looking for when it comes to righteous fire builds. And one of the builds that I'm playing mainly right now for the past week is the SRS Guardian build. I'm following Subtractum's guide, so he does a really great job at explaining his process and the individual stats that help the build. So I recommend checking him out, Subtractum, for those kind of guides. He is a very prevalent PoE content creator, so yeah, he'll make different kinds of builds for each league starts. So it's not like Fox where he's just a main righteous fire guy or SRS guy. And yeah, those are the 2 builds that I've been playing the most. Usually people play like 2 builds, but that's like if you're like casual with it. But yeah, I don't know, I'm thinking about doing another one, but it's good to have goals for each of your characters, and that's part of what I've learned about the game too, is having clear goals that you strive for will kind of keep you going and keep you playing the game. And yeah, and burnout is kind of insane in this game because it's like you play a lot and you get a lot out of it. There's a point where you play too much and a lot of that fun is kind of like sapped away from you. And part of that is because you're kind of doing the same content over and over again with different modifiers. Because the end game of, let's talk about the end game then, because the end game is about running maps, pretty much an item that you go through, which they're effectively like dungeons. You have items that are dungeons, and you put them into a device where you can go into those dungeons. And then you can add modifiers that usually those modifiers are detrimental to yourself or a buff to the monsters in the area. So there's a lot of modifiers and different dangers in each map. So usually not all the maps will be the same. Yeah, that's pretty much the gameplay loop of the end game. Pick up a map, you do one tier map to 2 tiers map, and you keep going all the way to tier 16. Then eventually you will be met with boss, and then you'll keep that cycle going, and then you'll be met with boss, and that's kind of the loop. And I know that kind of sounds plain and a little boring, but it really isn't, especially when you're just like walking through the mobs like 2 minutes at a time. 2 minutes, 3 minutes for a map, depending on what you're farming, is pretty long. Usually other people will go through a map like 30 seconds, and that also depends on their build and the map modifier. So yeah, there's a lot of things that goes into that end game and how that mapping system works. So, and usually that is my goal, to complete the maps and get the void stones, which is a updated modifier to the map, so you can get higher tier maps. Yeah, that's a system I just got into this league because I haven't got any further than that. So this league, I decided to try trade league for the first time, And the reason for that was I wanted to get to some of the content that haven't gotten to when I did the solo self-found. And if you don't know what those two league means, it means that the trade is where the trade shop is open, where players can, you know, trade currency for an item or something like that. It's always an open market, and a lot of people make fun of how the game is a capitalist simulator, where you kind of farm money and then you invest that money into your character, and then that money will be into the market, and it kind of floods and the prices fluctuate of what items are on the market. But that's so different from solo self-found, where you're playing just by yourself. Anything you find on the ground is yours, and you kind of have to utilize the items, the currency that they use for trade usually, to upgrade your guys, and you upgrade your gear, upgrade your character in some way. And solo self-found is the game mode where I usually start with, because I don't want to interact with a lot of other players and kind of missing out like a certain item that I should be farming or anything like that. It's good to pick up a item on the ground or currency on the ground, and then kind of figuring out ways to utilize it instead of putting it in the market and then getting currency to buy something. It doesn't feel rewarding, and that's why I like solo self-found a lot more. You know a lot more about the mechanics in the game because you're actively looking for them to farm whatever material you need. You need you know, fossils stuff for crafting. Do you need delirium orbs to juice up your maps? There's a lot to learn in solo self-found that you don't really engage with in Trade League, and it's vice versa, but they play very, very different. When I started Trade League, I kind of wanted to experience all the content that I could do. So when I do a new solo self-found character, I know where to go to get certain items or certain mod or a certain map or cards or something, anything like that will improve my character without using the trade store. So I started with the content of essences. So essences are kind of like nodes in each of the map that will have like frozen enemies in them, and when you kill the enemies, they'll drop like essences, which are a crafting item that will guarantee a certain stat. So that's a really good thing for solo self-found. It's a good thing for trade also, because farming a lot of essences can bank you a lot of chaos and divines. And I got it down to a pretty good time, where I've got in and got out in the map in about 30-45 seconds, maybe a minute. And I kept running through that, and eventually I got enough currency to buy all the items that I needed to upgrade my guy. Another content that I spec'd my Alice tree into was Abyss, and I really love Abyss and just the amount of sheer mobs that pops out. And I haven't done the magic find strat yet with the spires and the two projectile mods and stuff like that. I haven't done any of that, just because I just want to understand that mechanic, the Abyss mechanic. And yeah, I love the sheer amount of mobs that pops out of the chasm there, and then at the end of chasing this monster around the map, you kind of get a chance of diving into the depths, and you get a pretty good reward. You get good rewards for it, sure. I haven't got anything too crazy, but you get ghostly eyes, I think, jewels, and that really helps add out the stats that you really need. And on top of that, like if you don't spawn a abyss portal, then you still get a chest at the end of killing the mob. So those are the two mechanics that I really delved deep into, and it's not anything too crazy, but it's always a good time to see a stack of monsters exploding and getting something cool out of it. Other than those two, I've been dabbling into other content like Harbinger, where you get the shards of orbs and currencies. They are pretty good. You get a lot of drops and you get that dopamine rush for sure. But I don't know, it just feels like you're getting parts of a smaller thing you need. Yeah, the Harbinger, I'm still speccing into that, getting a little more into that, but I'm not sure how I'm liking that. I also delve into Delve just recently, and that's a really good crafting tool also, that it gives you fossils and resonators, which guarantees you a mod and takes out, or it blocks a mod and guarantees you a mod. So there's a lot of power you have with the fossils. And then for the delve, you kind of collect gold, I guess, to go deeper into the mine, and which you get crystals, which upgrades your power to stay down the cave longer, maybe lets you see a little more of the area you're in. So yeah, there's a lot to learn about delve. It's something haven't got deep into, but I'm starting to like. And they have this new mechanic that was implemented within the Affliction League. It's called the Wild Wisp Woods. That gives you another tree to go through. Well, only like 4 nodes, so it's not that 4 or 6 nodes. It's not too crazy, but yeah, another skill tree which can give you a lot of beneficial stats that just help you so much. And for that mechanic, you kind of follow these wisps around a dark area, so you don't really know where they are. You're just figuring out where the path leads you, and that will generate the wisp for it. And then those wisps will explode once you get out of the wild wisp into the map, and those wisps will infect the monsters around the map and provide better loot, and in turn will make the monsters a lot stronger. And from what I'm hearing throughout the community, it's a pretty hard leading mechanic, especially if you're stacking and juicing up the maps at an insane rate, like 8 mods map with delirium and like 4 scarabs. There's so much that I can't even comprehend even to do. Another thing that I'm learning through Trade League that I didn't really learn through Self-Found was crafting, and part of that is finding fractured items, which guarantees you a stat on the item that will never change. So yeah, the game is all about controlling what you can change on an item, especially when you're crafting. You don't want the full 6 modifiers on a rare item. You want 5 modifiers and then an open modifier slot to craft something like whatever you need it is. So crafting was something that just wasn't in my knowledge, and just still a little lost about I'm still a little lost about what items does what and how I guarantee certain mods on an item. But I'm getting there. I've crafted pretty much my full armor set that I needed, and I got it to a pretty good place. I just need to, I'm following a guide, so I understood what I needed to get the stats and the fossils and essences, whatever it is I needed to craft. I was able to get it through the marketplace. So yeah, that's a bonus if you want to learn crafting through trade. The Trade League just allowed me to easily get into crafting because of all the materials I can get through the trade shop. I think one of the best parts of the game for me is crafting the items. just to see like the random modifiers you can get. If you can get a tier 1 godly modifier, or maybe you get something bad. It's just a really cool dopamine rush. And I know I said that twice already, but that this game is full of that. One thing I wanted to talk about, and it's something that I didn't really wanted to learn until yesterday, was making your own build. And for the most part, new players will follow a build and they will play like that for the rest of their time in PoE, and that's fine. That's totally fine. That's what I was thinking about doing the whole time, anyways. But after playing the game for as much as I did in the past week, you kind of get motivated and think of new ideas of certain builds, and that kind of rocketed me into starting my own build. And I'm not really in the process of making it right now. I'm just looking at what I want to build the build around. Like what abilities do I want? What's my main ability to use? What's the defensive stat that I'm mainly gonna stack through? So there's a lot of nuances to make a build, and I'm still learning through that. It's something I am trying to strive for in this game. Path of Exile is incredibly complicated and impossible to navigate around. You do need to watch a guide. You do need to have goals in mind, or you are just gonna quit the game in the first map, like a lot of other people. I forgot the stat about, but it's like at least 85 people that play the game don't complete that map. Community alleviates a lot of that stress in making a build, and you can just focus on playing the game instead of what is my build gonna be and what am I gonna scale it for. There's a lot of things that go into it that not a lot of new players want to get deep into, and having the community create guides, like start league guides, is incredible to new players like me, because you could just follow that guide and play the game. And from the week I played with Trade League, I spent a lot of time just idle and looking at the trade marketplace to see if I can get an item or a fossil or an essence, anything that would make my guide stronger or make my maps have more mobs. And that's not a way I want to play an ARPG. That's why solo self-found is so compelling to me. Each drop is important. It feels weightful and not just something you throw on the market to sell. The game is complicated and the game is hard. But if you have the will and the power to push through the tutorial stuff and get into deeper into the acts, you will want to play a lot more and understand what this game is and what it has to offer. And that's part of the joy for me. Always learning, always having something to think about in the game. There's non-stop content that will be in the game for years and years, and not everyone will know 100% of this game. It's free. It's on Steam. You could try it out, and like hopefully it hooks you like it hooked me, because it's a very special game, and I can't wait to see the next league and see where they go with Path of Exile 2. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me ramble about my Path of Exile obsession. But yeah, I mean, I've just been hooked on this game for the past, I think, 3 weeks now. So it's kind of insane that I've been playing a game that long, but it's fun. So yeah, no harm. For this, I kind of want to have a series ongoing, kind of like a diary of me playing a certain game, or wherever the games I've been playing the week. So yeah, look forward to weekly updates on the games I've been playing. And I have a lot of other things that are coming to mind to do content on. I kind of want to do news content for video games, so I'm gonna try to get that all set up, and hopefully 2024 I can make some cool shit and keep making it. I want to get into the flow of making content and be present and having a schedule. Yeah, I mean, that's it for me. It's been a pretty good start to the year. And yeah, Happy New Year to you guys. And I'll see you guys next week. See ya.